Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be discussing one of the most debated topics in technology and law, artificial intelligence and copyright. As AI becomes increasingly capable of generating text, images, music, videos, and software, an important question has emerged. Should these types of systems be allowed to learn from copyrighted materials? This issue goes far beyond technology. It involves the right of creators, future of innovation, and the legal challenges of regulating AI in a global digital world. Throughout this presentation, I'll evaluate the issues using an ethical framework known as utilitarism, which asks whether an action produces the greatest overall good for society. And by the end, I'll explain why this debate is so important and present my own ethical conclusion. Before we can analyze whether an action is ethical, we first need to identify the ethical actors involved. In this case, there are several groups whose interests are directly affected. First are the creators, including authors, musicians, artists, photographers, programmers, journalists. Their original work may be used to train AI models, often without their knowledge or consent. Next are AI companies, which collect enormous data sets to build more capable and useful systems. Consumers also play a role because they benefit from AI through productivity, education, and creative tools. Finally, governments and policymakers are responsible for creating laws that balance innovation with intellectual property rights. Since each of these groups have different interests and responsibility, any ethical decision must consider how the action affects all of them, rather than focusing on only one perspective. The central ethical issue is whether AI companies should be allowed to train their systems using copyrighted works without obtaining permission from the creators. Supporters argue that training AI on a large amounts of information promotes innovation, improves technology, and benefits society by making knowledge more accessible. Opponents argue that creators deserve control over how their work is used and should receive compensation if their content contributes to commercial AI systems. This debate also raises questions about fair use, ownership, and whether existing copyright laws are sufficient for modern AI technology. In other words, the challenge is finding the right balance between encouraging technological process while still protecting the rights and livelihood of human creators. Now that we've identified the ethical issue, we can clearly define the specific action being evaluated. The action of being tested is AI companies training their models on copyrighted materials. AI systems learn by analyzing enormous amounts of books, research papers, artwork, photographs, websites, and many other types of digital content. Rather than memorizing every work, the system identifies the pattern, relationships that allow it to generate new content later. Even so, contents argue that their work contributed to the AI's capabilities without the permission. This particular action that is what we will evaluate using our ethical framework. We're not judging AI as a whole, but specifically whether training on copyrighted works is ethically justified. To evaluate this action, I'll use utilitarism, an ethical theory developed by philosopher John Stuart Mill. Utilitarism states that the most ethical action is the one that produces the greatest overall good for the greatest number of people. Instead of asking whether an action benefits only one group, utilitarism compares the overall benefits and harms experienced by everyone involved applied to the AI. We ask questions like, does AI improve education, medicine, science, and productivity? Does it create economic opportunities at the same time? Does it unfairly harm creators by reducing their income or weakening copyright protections? By weighing both positive and negative consequences, utilitarianism provides a structured way to evaluate this complex issue. When we apply utilitarianism to this issue, we can see strong arguments on both sides. On the positive side, AI accelerates research, increases productivity, improves accessibility, and creates new tools that benefits millions of people around the world. However, there are also significant harms. Creators may lose income, their work may be used without permission, and some people worry that AI could reduce incentives for future creativity. My conclusion is that the benefits of AI can outweigh these harms, but only if appropriate safeguards exist. These include greater transparency, licensing agreements, and fair compensation from creators, and mechanisms that allow for creators to opt out if they choose. Under those conditions, the actions become ethically justifiable according to utilitarian principles. Another challenge is that copy, copyright law is not the same everywhere in the world. Every country has different rules regarding fair use, copyright duration, enforcement, and digital rights. Meanwhile, AI companies often collect information from the global internet, where data crosses nation border almost instantly. This makes enforcement extremely difficult because a practice considered legal in one country may violate copyright laws in another. International organizations are working together, greater corporation, but there are also currently no universal legal framework for training for AI training. This demonstrates that solving the ethical uses surrounding AI requires not only better technology, but also international collaboration between governments, businesses, and legal experts. These ethical questions are no longer just theoretical. Today, multiple lawsuits are testing how copyright law applies to artificial intelligence. For example, the New York Times has sued OpenAI, claiming its copyrighted articles were used to train AI models without permission. Artists have also filed lawsuits against Stability AI, arguing their artwork was used to generate competing images. Similarly, several music companies have taken legal action against AI music generators. These ongoing cases will likely shape future copyright laws and establish important legal precedents for AI development. Regardless of the final decision, they demonstrate that society is actively trying to determine where the innovation should end and another creator should begin, and another creator right should begin. In conclusion, artificial intelligence presents tremendous opportunities for society, but it also raises difficult ethical and legal questions about copyright. After identifying the ethical errors and defining the action and applying the utilitarism, I believe that AI training on copyrighted works can be ethically accepted if it produces greater overall benefit while also respecting the rights of creators. Achieving that balance requires transparency, fair compensation, responsible regulation, and international cooperation. The goal should not be to stop AI innovation, but rather to guide it responsibly so that both technological process and human creatively continue to thrive together.